the mother-in-law declared over the phone. "On Monday at 10 in the morning at the notary's. I'm selling your dacha. Documents need to be signed. I've already accepted a deposit from the buyers." But when the mother-in-law arrived at the notary's with the buyers, she froze in shock. "And before we continue, please write which country you are watching from." "Enjoy listening." Marina felt a slight chill, though the dacha was quite warm. The sun lazily pierced through the curtains, casting whimsical shadows on the log walls. This dacha, it was all that remained of her father. Memories of summer days spent here, of his stories, of the smell of freshly cut grass and barbecue smoke overwhelmed her. Now this place belonged to her, and the thought simultaneously warmed and troubled her. Her father hadn't left her much, but this dacha, it was priceless. Not in a monetary sense, of course, more like an island of calm in the stormy sea of her life. Marina worked as an accountant in a small firm. Life was predictable and frankly a bit dull. Igor, her husband, was a good man, but a bit spineless. He always tried to avoid conflict, which often led him to simply agree with his mother, Svetlana Ivanovna. And Svetlana Ivanovna, this woman knew how to create tension even in the most relaxed setting. Immediately after the funeral, as soon as Marina had somewhat recovered, her mother-in-law began to inquire about the dacha, subtly but persistently. "Well, Marina, how is your inheritance?" she asked once over tea, with an air as if she were discussing some trifle, not a house full of memories. Marina remained silent then, not wanting to get into an argument. She knew that Svetlana Ivanovna considered everything belonging to Marina's family to be communal. In her understanding, marriage was a union not only of souls, but also of property. "The dacha is good, of course," Svetlana Ivanovna continued, "but it's expensive to maintain now, heating in winter, and you and Igor already have it tough." Igor sat nearby silently stirring sugar into his tea. Marina felt his pleading gaze, a plea not to rock the boat, but she couldn't. The dacha was more than just real estate to her. "Svetlana Ivanovna, I am not going to sell it," Marina said firmly, trying to maintain a calm tone. "It's a memento of my father, and we can rent it out in the summer. It will be a nice addition to our budget." Svetlana Ivanovna grimaced as if she had a toothache. "Renting it out is not the best solution. It needs repairs. And who would want to live in an old house?" "We'll do the repairs," Marina replied. "Gradually. This is my home, and I will decide what to do with it." That evening, the conversation ended with nothing. Svetlana Ivanovna demonstratively took offense and left, slamming the door. Igor, as always, tried to smooth things over, but Marina was unwavering. She felt that if she gave in now, she would lose not only the dacha, but also a part of herself. Several weeks passed. Svetlana Ivanovna behaved with marked coldness, avoided Marina, and spoke to her through clenched teeth. Igor was caught between two fires, trying to please both women, but only worsening the situation. One evening, while Igor was working late, Marina accidentally overheard Svetlana Ivanovna's phone conversation. "Yes, I'm sure everything will be fine. Igor is under my control. Marina won't go anywhere either. The money? Of course. I'm waiting for the deposit. Tomorrow, the notary. Monday at 10 in the morning. Excellent, it's settled." Marina went cold. She immediately understood what was happening. Svetlana Ivanovna had decided to sell the dacha behind her back, exploiting Igor's weak will and her own reluctance to engage in open conflict. Indignation and anger washed over her. How could she do this? Betray her trust, trample on her feelings? Marina didn't sleep all night. She sifted through possible courses of action, create a scandal, try to talk to Igor, but she knew it was useless. Svetlana Ivanovna knew how to manipulate people, and Igor was her primary victim. Svetlana Ivanovna rejoiced. The plan was ripening like a ripe apple, ready to fall into her palm. She had found buyers, a young couple, Anna and Dmitry, charmed by the dacha's appearance, its tranquility, and its proximity to nature. Svetlana presented herself as a benefactor, solving their housing issue and simultaneously ridding the family of a useless asset. Yes, it's a wonderful place," she cooed to Anna on the phone, while Igor fidgeted guiltily with his papers in the next room. It's perfect for a young family. Fresh air, apple trees. Your children will be happy. Anna, judging by her voice, already saw herself as the mistress of this paradise. We fell in love with the dacha at first sight. And when can we see the documents? Oh, those are just formalities, Svetlana Ivanovna replied carelessly. My son is the owner. He's a hard worker, but I'll sort everything out. I'm a mother, after all, everything for the family. She arranged a meeting with them for the next day, assuring them that all the documents would be ready. The meeting took place in a small cafe near the dacha. Anna and Dmitry arrived with bright eyes. Svetlana Ivanovna, dressed in her best suit, radiated confidence. So, she began, pouring tea into cups. I understand you are seriously interested. Anna nodded. Yes, very. We're ready to make a deposit. Svetlana Ivanovna smiled slyly. Excellent. As a sign of serious intentions, a deposit would be very welcome. 100,000 rubles will be enough. Dmitry hesitated slightly. 100,000 is quite a large sum. Why, young people? Svetlana Ivanovna feigned surprise. For such a dacha, it's just a drop in the ocean. But it guarantees you'll get it. Others are interested too, you know. Anna nudged Dmitry. Don't worry, Dim. We've decided. Dmitry sighed and took a wad of bills from his bag. Svetlana Ivanovna accepted the money with a satisfied smile, counted it carefully, and hid it in her large handbag. There we go, she said. Monday at 10 in the morning, we meet at the notary. We'll sign all the necessary papers there, and the dacha will be yours. Returning home, Svetlana Ivanovna called Marina. Her voice sounded as sweet as molasses, but steel could be felt beneath that sweetness. Marina, dear, she sang, on Monday at 10 in the morning, please be so kind as to come to the notary's. We need to sign some papers for the dacha. Nothing complicated, just a formality. Igor will be there too. Marina, sitting at the kitchen table sorting through inheritance documents, went cold. She immediately understood what had happened. The deposit, the buyers, the notary. Svetlana Ivanovna had decided to act with certainty, leaving her no chance. What papers, Svetlana Ivanovna? Marina asked calmly, trying not to betray her agitation. Why, dear? Svetlana Ivanovna feigned surprise. Papers for selling the dacha. We decided that it's the best option for everyone. Don't be stubborn. You understand that I'm doing this for the good of the family. Marina felt anger boiling inside her. How dare she decide for her, dispose of her property as if it were her own? But she restrained herself. Now was not the time for hysterics. Now was the time to act. I'll think about it, she replied in an even voice. We'll see on Monday. Svetlana Ivanovna snorted. She'll think about it. What's there to think about? It's all decided. Just come and sign. Don't make us wait. Marina hung up, feeling her hands tremble. She looked at her father's photograph on the table. His kind eyes seemed to encourage her. I won't let her do it, Dad, she whispered. I'll protect your dacha. She called her lawyer, Alexei Petrovich, and briefly explained the situation. Alexei Petrovich, I need your help. My mother-in-law is trying to sell the dacha I inherited without my consent. She even has buyers, and a meeting is scheduled at the notary's. Alexei Petrovich listened carefully. The situation is unpleasant, but not hopeless. If you have documents confirming ownership, she can't do anything without your consent. Come to me tomorrow morning. I'll review your documents and prepare everything necessary. Marina felt relieved. She had an ally. She was not alone in this fight. Igor returned from work late that evening. He looked tired and dejected. Marina knew he was aware of his mother's plan and was experiencing inner conflict. He didn't want to offend her, but he couldn't go against his mother's will either. Igor, Marina said quietly as he entered the bedroom, your mother said we have to go to the notary on Monday. Igor sighed and sat down on the bed. Yes, she told me. Marina, please don't be angry. Mom thinks this is the best way out. The dacha requires a lot of money, and we already have enough expenses. I know, Marina replied, but this is my dacha, Igor. It's a memento of my father. I don't want to sell it." Igor lowered his head. "I understand, but Mom insists so much. You know what she's like." "Yes, I know," Marina said bitterly. "I know she thinks she can manage my life as her own, but I won't let her do it anymore." She looked Igor straight in the eye. "Igor, you have to choose. Either you support me, your wife, or you remain a mama's boy who can't make independent decisions." Igor looked up at her, his eyes full of pain and confusion. "Marina, don't say that. I love you, but I don't want to quarrel with Mom." "Then tell her you support me," Marina insisted. "Tell her the dacha remains mine, and she has no right to interfere in our lives." Igor was silent, struggling with himself. Marina saw how difficult it was for him. She understood that he was used to obeying his mother, that he feared her anger, but she also knew that if he didn't make a choice now, their marriage would be doomed. "I'll try," Igor finally said, forcing the words out with difficulty. "I'll talk to her." Marina sighed. "Try, Igor. But remember that our future depends on your decision." She turned away and lay down on the bed, feeling exhausted and empty. The fight for her independence turned out to be much harder than she had anticipated, but she was not going to give up. She would fight to the end for herself, for her father, for her love. All night Marina couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned in bed, replaying all possible scenarios in her mind. What would Svetlana Ivanovna say when she found out she wasn't going to sell the dacha? How would the buyers react when they realized they had been deceived? And most importantly, would Igor be able to stand up to his mother and support her? Her father's face, his kind smile, his words about her needing to be strong and independent appeared before her eyes. And she knew she had to live up to his hopes. She had to prove to Svetlana Ivanovna that she was not a weak, spineless woman who could be manipulated. She had to defend her right to happiness and independence. And when morning came, Marina got out of bed with a firm resolve. She would go to the notary, she would meet Svetlana Ivanovna, and she would show her that she was not going to give up. She would fight for her life, for her love, for her dacha, and she would win. Svetlana Ivanovna arrived at the notary's with a triumphant smile. Anna and Dmitri, the young couple, followed, shifting nervously. They were already picturing summer evenings on the veranda, barbecues, and the silence so lacking in their city apartment. Svetlana Ivanovna had assured them that all formalities were just a waste of time. She, after all, was an experienced woman. She would sort everything out. Igor trailed behind, stooped as if carrying a burden of guilt on his shoulders. He tried not to look his mother in the eye, let alone the potential buyers. He knew that sooner or later he would have to make a choice, and that moment was inexorably approaching. The notary, a stern woman in an impeccable suit, greeted them with a dry nod. She was accustomed to such deals, family dramas, and hidden motives. Her task was to impartially process documents without interfering in others' passions. She invited everyone to take their seats at a long table, laden with papers and stamps. "So, Svetlana Ivanovna," the notary began, putting on her glasses, "do you have all the necessary documents for the sale of the dacha plot?" Igor, as if waking from a trance, mumbled, "But we don't have any documents, Mom. The dacha belongs to Marina." Svetlana Ivanovna shot him a scorching look. "Don't talk nonsense. You're my son. You should support me. All these formalities are nonsense. The main thing is that we are a family and should act together." At that moment, the office door opened and Marina entered. A middle-aged man she didn't know, carrying a briefcase, followed her. Marina was calm and self-assured, as if preparing for an important exam. "Excuse me for being late," she said, addressing the notary. "I had some minor business to attend to." Svetlana Ivanovna turned pale. She hadn't expected such a turn of events. "Who is this man?" she hissed, glaring at Marina. "This is my lawyer," Marina replied calmly. "I think his presence here is necessary." The notary, interested in the unfolding events, put down her glasses and looked at Marina attentively. "Do you have any documents pertaining to this transaction?" Marina nodded and took a folder of papers from her bag. "Yes, I have the original documents confirming my ownership of the dacha plot." "Here." The inheritance certificate issued by the notary office. Marina handed the documents to the notary. The notary studied the papers carefully. Everything is in order. The documents are in perfect order. According to these documents, the owner of the dacha plot is Marina. She looked at Svetlana Ivanovna. Svetlana Ivanovna, do you have documents confirming your right to dispose of this property? Svetlana Ivanovna began to gesture nervously. But I am the husband's mother. I wanted what was best. It's all for the family. Marina, you have to understand me. Family is respect and trust, Marina replied calmly. Your attempts to deceive me and sell my property behind my back. Anna and Dmitri exchanged glances, feeling extremely awkward. They realized they had been victims of deception. Excuse us, Anna said to Svetlana Ivanovna, but we don't understand what's happening here. You assured us that you had the right to sell the dacha. We paid you a deposit. Yes, Dmitri supported her. We want our money back. Svetlana Ivanovna panicked. She understood that her plan had collapsed, and now she would have to answer for her actions. I'll return your money, she mumbled. Just give me some time. You don't have time, Marina's lawyer cut in. You entered into a transaction without the right to do so. This is fraud. If you don't return the money immediately, we will have to contact the police. Svetlana Ivanovna was completely lost. She felt humiliated and offended. All her plans, all her hopes had collapsed in an instant. Igor, tell them something, she implored, addressing her son. You're a man. You have to protect me. Igor, who until that moment had been like petrified, finally woke up. Seeing how absurdly his mother was trying to justify herself to the notary and the disappointed buyers, he felt something snap inside him. It wasn't just pity for Marina, whom Svetlana Ivanovna was trying to rob so brazenly. It was the realization that his mother, the woman he had always considered all-powerful, had actually turned out to be an ordinary deceiver, ready to stoop to meanness for her own gain. He stepped forward, separating himself from his mother, as if severing the umbilical cord that had bound him to her his whole life. Mom, stop, he said, and for the first time in a long time, his voice held firmness. You have no right to dispose of someone else's property. The dacha belongs to Marina. Svetlana Ivanovna turned to him, and her eyes swam with rage mixed with incomprehension. What are you saying, Igor? You know I'm doing this for the family, for your own good. No, Mom. Igor shook his head. You're doing it for yourself. You always do everything only for yourself, disguising it as care for us. Anna and Dmitri, the young buyers, exhaled with relief. Seeing that the situation was being resolved in favor of the law, they stopped shouting and demanding their money back and simply waited to see how it would all end. The notary, tired of this commotion, cleared her throat and reminded them of the need for order. Marina stood silently, observing the events. She felt no schadenfreude, only exhaustion. Exhaustion from constant struggle, from the need to defend herself and her interests. She saw Igor showing character for the first time, and deep down she hoped that this was not just a fleeting impulse but the beginning of his real maturation. Svetlana Ivanovna, realizing she had lost, her face changed. The rage in her eyes turned to confusion and then to resentment. She cast a malevolent glance at Marina and without saying a word ran out of the notary's office, slamming the door so hard that the glass rattled. Silence ensued. Anna and Dmitri, having received their deposit back, thanked Marina for her honesty and left, disappointed but glad to have avoided deception. The notary, sighing, returned to her papers. Igor approached Marina and took her hand. Forgive me, he whispered. I was blind. I let my mother manipulate me. Marina looked at him with compassion. It's okay, Igor. The important thing is that you realized it now. After the notary's office, they drove home in silence. A tense atmosphere prevailed in the car. Igor felt guilty and dejected. Marina felt drained. She understood that this incident had forever changed their relationship with his mother and didn't know what the future held. At home, Svetlana Ivanovna met them with a stony face. She demonstratively remained silent, showing with her whole demeanor how deeply she was offended. Igor tried to talk to her, to explain that he just wanted to do the right thing, but she turned away, muttering something unintelligible. Marina, tired of this circus, decided to take the initiative. She approached Svetlana Ivanovna and looked her straight in the eye. "Svetlana Ivanovna," she said calmly but firmly, "I understand you're upset, but I want you to know. I will no longer allow anyone to manage my life and my property. Another stunt like this, and no one in this house will count on my trust anymore." Svetlana Ivanovna replied nothing, just snorted contemptuously and went to her room. Igor looked at Marina with admiration. He had never seen her so strong and confident. After this incident, a new balance was established in the family without shouting or scandals, but with clear boundaries. Svetlana Ivanovna, although she did not admit her guilt, became more restrained in her actions and statements. She no longer tried to pressure Marina and Igor, realizing it was futile. Marina decided to handle the dacha her own way. She neither sold it nor rented it out. Instead, she decided to renovate it and turn it into a place where she could relax from the city bustle and regain her strength. She wanted the dacha to become her personal space, a symbol of her independence and freedom. Igor supported her in this decision. He understood that the dacha had special significance for Marina and wanted her to feel happy and peaceful there. He began to help her with the renovations, and they spent weekends together, working in the garden and fixing up the house. Over time, the relationship between Marina and Igor became more trusting and sincere. They learned to listen and understand each other, respect personal space, and support each other in difficult times. Igor gradually freed himself from his mother's influence and became an independent and responsible man. New boundaries were established in the family, but this did not mean that all problems were solved. The relationship between Marina and Svetlana Ivanovna remained tense, and they tried to avoid each other. Igor felt guilty towards his mother, but he understood that he could not betray Marina or his own principles. It is unknown whether Marina and Svetlana Ivanovna will ever be able to mend their relationship. It remains uncertain whether Igor will fully break free from his mother's sway and seize genuine command of his own destiny. However, one aspect was abundantly clear. Marina had successfully defended her autonomy, demonstrating to everyone that she possessed the resolve to champion her rights. The dacha, the very focal point of the ensuing dispute, had transformed into a potent emblem of her resilience and liberty. Marina and Igor stood by the dacha, their gazes fixed upon the descending sun. The air was perfumed with the aroma of freshly cut grass and blooming flora. They held hands, experiencing the comforting warmth and mutual encouragement flowing between them. A new chapter in their lives, brimming with both trials and prospects, lay ahead. They were prepared to embrace it side by side, united in their endeavor to construct a shared future founded upon affection, mutual regard, and self-determination. The dacha, once a representation of contention and struggle, now stood as a testament to their optimism and their conviction in a brighter tomorrow.